Hi friends, this is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolfpack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A safe space where being yourself is the ultimate goal. Each week we will bring you new episodes sharing our opinions on a ton of different topics in hopes we can get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our opinions and experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences, our opinions, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Being Real With. This is a segment of the Be Real Babe podcast where we get back to talking to our friends, family, community, any sort of guest about their experiences, their opinions, and pretty much anything we want to talk about. There's no hold bar, there's no boundaries. We literally just talk real talk. That is how we started, what we love doing, community, connection, chatting, being honest, being messy, being opinionated, and also controversial. Like, let's talk about it. So this episode, guys, for those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show. And today, guys, we are on episode 117, Being Real With our friend Dusty. We are so excited, guys. And I just realized that I say that every single episode, but I think I just truly get really excited for literally every single episode. If you guys know me, obviously from watching the show, you guys know I love to fucking talk and I love connecting and I love my babes and I love our guests. And so this is why I'm excited every single time. I am not going to change saying that because I am excited about every single episode. So this one, guys, it'll be Dusty's second time back on here, Van City Mountaineer. You guys all know him for the last couple of years on social media, helping us fight the woke mob and bullshit that's out there and calling it out and saying it how it is. So before we get into this awesome episode, guys, I just want to remind you, if you can, if you're watching on YouTube, Rumble, please make sure to subscribe and turn on those notification bells so you know when your girls are posting. Also make sure to follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook for social media. We are posting there with links to our episodes every single day, sharing extra stuff for you guys there. And if you are on Apple or Spotify, going to give us a star rating or leaving us a review. Also, if you want your own section of Being Real With, if you want to come on because you have an opinion, a story, an experience, especially if it differs from ours, we would love to hear it. If you have a topic that you haven't heard on the show yet or you want to hear more of, let us know. You can message us on Instagram, Facebook, whichever. Reach out to us. We love talking to you guys, but I'm going to shut the fuck up. Oh, and also like this video if you can, if you're on one of those ones. I'm really not good at being a YouTuber, guys, or I don't even think I am, but got to say all those things to remind you. And I know when I'm listening, I don't do those things sometimes either. I kind of forget. So these little reminders, I know when I'm watching the show are good. So I'm going to say it now again, like, subscribe, notifications, all those things. I will shut the fuck up. Let's get into this amazing episode. Hope you guys are loving this as much as we are, but let's get on over to the good shit. Babes, in studio today, we have my co-host, Hales. Hey, Hales.
Hey.
Now we have our co-host, Kay. Hey, Kay. Hello. And today, our guest of honor returning for his second time, our Van City Mountaineer, Dusty. Hey, friend. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming back. We didn't scare you away the first time, or I should say I.
No. we ran out of time. We were talking so much and we could have gone for 2 or 3 hours probably.
That happens often.
Every time. Me and Hale said this last Sunday, we're like, it's going to be 45 minutes, hour tops. It was like at least an hour and 15. We're like, oh.
Yeah. And we could have kept going. It was terrible.
Right.
There's so much to talk about right now. There's so many things going on.
I know.
I don't even know where to start. Who wants to pick a topic to start on?
Dusty,
I say let's let Dusty roll with it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh. I mean, I guess, the I guess it's just the distraction and all the sort of smoke and mirrors in general, right? I mean, between like the Trump stuff and all the transgenders agenda stuff with Bud Light, or you know what I mean? Like everybody's worried about what Trump did in a consensual adult interaction. I mean, I don't agree with it. I wouldn't do what he did, but then again, I'm not famous and ultra rich, so I can't say that I wouldn't do it. I'd like to say, right. Like Bill Burr does a great sketch on that where he's like, if you're working in Home Depot, you don't know what it's like to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you got a busload of Scandinavian women jumping off the bus wanting to like
That's true.
jump on you. You know what I mean?
When it's all
And it's like once you win the lottery,
all readily available
it changes.
and just there for the
Right.
picking, who's to say?
Right.
Yeah. But
I
it's
don't know. It's so fair to say.
it's true. Everyone's made such a big deal out of it, but she was an adult, so.
Right.
I don't even know what's going
Right.
on there. See, I'm out of the loop on that. Like, I hear him in the headlines and I see him on headlines, but I'm like, I don't really know. There's something about him going to jail for.
I thought it was quite interesting
longer
that it was
period
like
of
a
time.
week or two before everyone was, Tuesday, he's going to jail Tuesday, and it took till the following Tuesday, but it was still like
Right.
a subject for a whole week before anything happened. And just like the pettiest
Well,
things they could have brought him up on too,
Right.
like. Never mind.
Right,
Our,
and I mean, you have
prime minister is like a pedophile, but let's go after the guy who had
totally
a weird
Exactly.
relationship with like an adult, but like it was weird nonetheless, and some things may not have been done properly, but it was an adult consensual relationship. What do you want about it?
right. I mean, and there's the alleged, like you said, the alleged 14, 15-year-old in North Vancouver that he
Paid off.
allegedly paid off.
Same
Right.
thing, but even worse because it was a child.
Or let's there's Ghislaine Maxwell got convicted of human trafficking children
To no one.
on Epstein's Island to no one.
To no
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
None of them
I don't,
So
take any
you
kind
guys-
of responsibility, which is gross,
yes.
to say the
No, you
least.
That is gross.
Follow that King Bao that he's called out Jimmy Kimmel all the time, and he has that Jimmy Kimmel challenge, and now all the other fighters, like a bunch of MMA fighters.
There's a lot of UFC, MMA, like
Yeah.
a lot of them,
Right.
and it seems to be that sport specifically because no one else is saying anything. But there's a ton of fighters that come out, and I love that.
I love
The
it.
strongest
Right.
of the strong. Yeah, let's see you go toe to toe with them and try and say you're a liar, right? Like,
Right.
come on.
I actually had that written down to talk about. It's like all these other sports leagues have just bailed and gone woke, and it's like I can't even stomach watching like what the Canucks did the other day.
There's quite a
They had
few
their Pride
hockey
Night.
players that are like pushing back, though. I think, and like I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure I
starting
heard
to.
that the Oilers and there's a few others are thinking about like maybe not doing Pride Night anymore because it's just it ignites too much. It's way too much controversy, and it's just we don't have like a white guy night. We don't have a Asian night. We don't have a like a Native American night. Like, why do we need what's with Pride? You're included. Just be
Right.
happy about it, like everyone else is. Like, you don't need a
don't
specific
understand.
night. I don't get it.
Yeah, sexual preference in sports have what to
Right.
do with.
Where's the
like,
correlation? Like,
it's
there
kids,
isn't any.
And it's not that these conversations should be had with kids and their parents, for sure. Of course it does. But it's like, it's a sporting event. Why do we have to have conversations with kids about acceptance at a
Yeah.
sporting event?
Keep
Like, there's a time and
politics out of
space.
sports. Just let them play
Yes.
sports.
I don't want strippers there
Right.
either. Like, I don't know.
No.
I was seriously, I did not like when they added, I don't even know what they're called, the girls that danced at the hockey games, the arena girls,
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever the hell
Yeah.
that was. Like, what was the point of that? This isn't a basketball, like, this isn't, like, why, it's
Football.
freezing cold in the arenas, and you're gonna have them dance half naked for entertainment. Like, good for you guys. Nice one.
Well, that's the thing too. Is they had the dancers, but then they took away the ice girls that would just scrape the ice. At least they were doing something. Now you got a guy in Lululemons. I don't want to see that dude scraping the ice. Like,
No, it's so true. Like, they're backwards about so much. Oh.
I just feel like
Oh,
it just
God.
shows very
Just
much.
bring her down, Nick.
So
hard to film when she's home.
It just goes to show how bought they are, right? Like, it's not about the
Oh,
sport
yeah.
or the teamwork. Now it's about
It's the
business and the
investors or whoever.
corporation
Yeah.
catering
The promotion,
people,
the
promotion of it, and the fear of the woke mob and cancellation. It's like, I love the guys that are being like, no, fuck this. This is about sports. This shouldn't be political, and it shouldn't.
like PK
we just
Subban
want-
the other
Right.
day said like
Yes.
this is
Right.
stupid, and he like doesn't even play anymore. Like, we need active players to be like, look guys. Well, the one did. Who the hell was it that spoke out, said it was against his religion, and he got like completely harangued online and like drug.
I can't remember what his name
what was the goalie for the Sharks? But then all the Russian players have been doing it too. I think Proporov from
Hell
like
yeah.
Philly Flyers. Like, and yes, the funny thing was his jersey sold out in one day afterwards. So it's like.
I love that.
That's the thing. Like, we sometimes we think we're a minority, but in reality, most people just keep their mouth shut and they go along with it, but they don't agree with it either, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, though, and that's what needs to stop, is the just going along with it because it's your bread and butter
Right.
and you don't want to rock the boat, but it's not something you
say
necessarily
something.
agree with or align with, or, you know, it's just sad.
Well, we saw that for the last 2.5 years with COVID. I mean, most people that went along with it just were trying to keep their mortgage and wanted to have their mojitos, like I've said, at Moxie's and go to Mexico trips and all that shit. But the thing
It was
is, they've
worth
got,
waiting.
like you said, they got to start standing up and saying
Yeah.
something, or else we're going to be, this society will be dead.
Compliance only goes so far, and then it just screws you right in the pooper.
Right.
Yeah, and you can only
Right.
be so
Like, you can-
inclusive and all this kind of stuff for like at a certain degree. Like, you
Well,
know
like
what
I said,
mean?
we don't have nights for every other race, every other gender, every other, like, there's no cis white male night, because God knows that's like the most hated demographic. Like, they don't have appreciation nights for every other like group of whatever you want to call it, minority or anything of the sort. So why that one? It's because it's a moneymaker, because people, it's the newest, like, yeah, virtue signaling trend. It's sad.
I'd like
When
to
the funny
know-
thing is, I don't even know if it is. Sorry if I'm cutting you off. I don't even know if it is a moneymaker, because you're basically
You're alienating yourself.
You're taking your plate of mashed or meat and potatoes and kicking it off the table, and now you're just so you can satisfy the whipped cream.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I mean, whipped cream.
you're not eating whipped cream as a meal. You're having meat and potatoes as a meal. Like NFL's done that with. I mean, they've tried to do that with the Super Bowl halftime show for years. They've brought in Janet. If you wanted to satisfy your fans, bring in Metallica, Zeppelin. The guys that are paying the bills.
Yeah, not
But they always bring in these
the girly
because
fans.
they're trying to lure in people that aren't already fans, but they only come in to watch the halftime show and they leave the room.
Dude, I don't know how many times, how many memes we saw of like there's a football game in the middle of the Rihanna concert. Like, that's all it is.
Right.
It's the halftime
Right.
entertainment that gets the biggest part of the headlines.
Yeah.
Right.
And then those seats are getting taken from actual football fans that actually want to go and, you know,
Well, it's
watch
a
it
concert
because
at
they
that
just wanna
point.
see The
Yeah.
concert, yeah. I never understood that either. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It is sad to see. It's like an escape. It's like when a show would bring up COVID. You're like, I just wanted to escape this for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same with
Right.
sports. I just want to dive into that without.
And enjoy it without agendas being shoved in your face, or sponsored by Pfizer.
Yeah. Right. Well, hey, Bill Burr, again, bring up Bill Burr. He does a great skit on this too, where he basically says that's all we had was our sports, and now you got to interject into this and ruin it for us.
Yeah.
It's like, because we can be happy sitting on a couch with a TV with nothing else in our apartment, and we're satisfied with our life.
Yeah.
We were anyways.
Forever, yeah.
And now it's like, look, they're happy. Why are they happy? And so this is a way to ruin it for
Yeah.
us.
Just another
Like,
way.
how can we do this? Just another way. It is kind of sad too. And now let's translate to it's going into schools, because
Oh,
I'm not a
God.
parent here, but I have 3 parents in front of me. And how do y'all feel
Mm-hmm.
about this stuff? Kind of like,
Just glad she's not of school age yet. I'm not ready.
oh man, like,
It'll be homeschool
yeah.
if this is the way it's going. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I feel like Kay is already going through some stuff. You know, like she sent us a message the other day of something
God.
that Cash seen on the internet, and it was like, oh God. I mean, it
Oh
wasn't
my
wrong.
god! Oh, that video. Yeah, no, it's. I'm like really.
Forgot about that.
I'm not looking forward to them starting to talk about like sex ed and stuff like that because of this exact thing. Like, I don't even remember them teaching it to us. Like, in what grade that all
We were in the
started.
6th grade when we
Apparently
got our
it's starting
first. I
quickly.
remember it.
I don't care what you guys want to do, but I don't think that they need to learn about transgenderism in fucking elementary, middle school,
No.
not even high school. And I will argue with everybody. I will argue with all of the people. Come talk to me about the biological stuff that's going on in their bodies and the development stuff. If you start fucking with that before they're fully developed, like it just, I don't know. And then people wonder why there's so many unhinged people out there that are,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not saying that all of the people from that community are, that they're unhinged, but there's a lot of them that are. And we're seemingly catering that to that.
It's
1%,
all
which I
it's
find
all
very
hiding
frustrating.
under the umbrella of trans for mental health issues and mental, like,
Right.
well, and not to mention, which I guarantee you, no one you can ask anyone no, there's always a point in everyone's life where you're going to be uncomfortable with your body. That's just kind of a given.
Yeah.
And it's usually through school and high school and junior high and elementary. Like, puberty is disgusting and it's rude. We talked about that last episode. Like, it's just not fun for everyone, and everyone suffers. But yeah, you teach them to accept themselves and to love themselves. Not, well, there's something wrong, then we should change that. Like, irreparable damage done. It's just.
Well, Jordan Peterson just did a 2-hour interview with Chloe Cole, and I'd recommend everybody go watch it, because this girl was 13 years old, tomboy, and the counselors and the doctors convinced her that she was actually a boy. And at was it 13 years old, they started giving her hormones, and by 15 they had cut off her breast, double mastectomy. And by 16 she realized, and by 16 she realized it was a mistake and wanted to reverse it.
No, she can't.
Because they had actually guilt tripped the parents too. They basically said to her parents, you can either have a live trans kid, or you can have a dead kid.
Yeah, a living son or a dead daughter. The typical and very canned response that you get, which I think is honestly the most manipulative bullshit that anyone could ever say to you. That is so wrong to say to someone. Because then I saw something recently that said that then puts in your parents' head and in your head that those are the only two options you have, is either a living boy or a dead girl. I was the same, biggest tomboy, still am. And the fact that, that could have been convinced of me, and I would have just been like, because it is about 16, 17 when things start changing, and then you're a tomboy, but you're still a girl, and you're kind of coming into more girl things. And then you're screwed because, the hormones have completely ruined you. You have lopped off your boobs, which to me, like, that is such a, like, you don't, they say, oh, you can get them back, you can put implants, but you don't get them back. You will never be able to breastfeed. That is not the same thing. Like, it's not, I just feel like
toxic tips into your
you get to put plastic foreign bodies to mimic what you already had, but removed because you were told to. Like, it's just...
And I feel bad for like the transgender community that, really has gender dysphoria and has to go through all this, and they're told by surgeons and by people and this, like group that you have to do all these plastic surgeries and put yourself at risk with all of these injections and surgeries and hormone blockers or increasers or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's attack on them too, right? Because if you don't look like it and then you're not gendered properly, then it's like you're told that you need to flip out and that you're not good enough.
Well, I don't think all of them want to be like, they want to be that hybrid. Like I told you guys today, I'm convinced that if you look at that stupid Dylan Mulvaney, he just got his feminization surgeries. He doesn't look that feminine. And where's the boobs? Like, you think he would immediately want to get some boobs going and not just rely on the estrogen building his own. Like, they want him to look like a half, a hybrid. They want him to be a very obvious, because then he's the face of it and like the spokesperson of it, right? If he turns straight into a girl like, say, Gigi Gorgeous or someone who looks like a very credible woman,
Blair White,
it's done. You know what I mean? Like, he's a woman. There's no more face of the transition aspect of it.
And have you guys seen?
Well, as a dude, I actually prefer him to look halfy, because then I can tell. Like, if you're a young dude and you're rounding third and sliding home and you get a bat to the face, I prefer not. Right?
I like that. That's what I mean, though. Like, I remember when I was younger.
Visual.
Carmen Herrera, I used to show to all my guy friends, like, do you think she's hot? And it was just this weird thing. They're like, yeah, she's hot. I'm like, well, she's a guy. Like, that was born a man, is now a woman. And, like, some of them are just, like, you wouldn't know. Which is, like...
Blair White, I wouldn't know.
No.
Blair White,
Blair White, no idea.
Buck Angel looks like a dude.
Buck Angel, looks like a dude.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of them that are, like, it's just very credible. But
and I feel like blessed that we have people like that, because they're sane transgender people. They don't want kids to transition.
They did it when they were adults.
They did it when they were adults. And even the ones that did it as a kid still say, I think you should wait till you're an adult, because I spoke about this in the episode with Dr. A, is like, I feel like right now with social media, it highlights this mental illness, and all of a sudden you're being loved bombed by this community, and you're like, this has to be it. This is what I'm missing. You're right. And a lot of them go
Right.
through all these things that are not reversible, and they're on the other side going, oh my God, I can't
Why the fuck
breastfeed
would
now
I
if
do
I wanted
this?
to. I can't have a baby if I wanted to. That Jazzy kid off
Yeah.
TLC.
I loved her. I was so into that show.
And now just so upset.
She is
Does
so
not feel like
overweight.
in her body.
She like
She's
is so
overweight.
miserable.
So
She used to be
miserable.
athletic and play soccer and be like a cute, tiny little, like, I guess, like, boy, but like she was slender and athletic and whatever, and then she is on all these hormones and did all these surgeries, and now she is huge. And that's not like, body fluctuation is totally normal, but like it just seems that like big pharma, as soon as they're in, you're gaining weight no matter what. Like that is the number one side effect to so many different pills. Like I find that to be, and then it becomes a, oh, you know, now you're too overweight, you can't do this surgery, now you're unhealthy and you got to take this pill and do this thing because it just drives me nuts. I hate pharma. I really do.
It's a cycle now for the rest of time for them. They have to
They
be
are
these
permanent
forever
patients.
Permanent patients.
Right.
Forever patients.
Which is, they're doing it on all angles. I mean, COVID, we all know COVID was that. It was just to get people on anti-cancer meds and heart meds and all the shit that the vaccines
to sell more remedies to all the problems that they cause. Totally. Like my dad's on steroid shots and like pills for the rest of his life because he has rheumatoid arthritis from the shot. Like he's forever gonna have to take this until like he makes a drastic change in his life, a diet or something. Like it just sucks that so many people are now permanently patients of big pharma.
Yep. Oh, we're gonna go hard on them next month.
Yeah. But I'll say back to Dylan, like the fact that he is getting his fame, it's only been a year. Like he started the 365, like the whatever days of he has now changed to womanhood, by the way. I think he stopped saying girlhood because he was getting shit on hard for that because it was gross. But he is the face of so much, where I have never seen someone's face on so much in such a short period of time. It is wild.
It was a time I thought maybe he was a troll too. I thought maybe he was the same as that dude back in Ontario that was the teacher. Yeah, and like I don't even know if I'd buy if he had surgery. I think he's just an actor. He's like all those gun actors down in the States too. The kids that are the professional actors when there's a shooting in the school and they move these kids around. I mean, was that David Hogg's been in like two or three school shootings? Yeah,
there's a little girl too that's been in a bunch of like earthquake after photos and stuff, and like that's 100% a thing.
And it makes me sad for the actual survivors. It takes it away from the people that actually go through all those tragedies, no matter like how it came to be. It fucking ruins it for everyone, right? Like, for not ruin it, but like, I don't know, it just makes me kind of sad that people would even agree to do that.
Well, even the trans people, like there should be an actual, like, I don't know, like if you're going to pick someone, I just think he's the new it person because he is like in between.
Controversial.
Yeah, and he's controversial.
And controversial.
And that March Madness commercial for Bud Light actually like pissed me off because he was like just instilling the stereotype that we're, pardon me, but stupid bimby, like don't know what March Madness is. Like fuck off. I hated that. Yeah. Oh, this March Madness thing, I don't know what it is. It's like, I don't like this. I get it, like, and I got what they were going for, but I was like, dude, you are such a, I hate this. I hate all of it.
It's not
and this leads all back. This leads all back to the main reason. It's fatherless homes. I can guarantee you. You look at the majority of kids that are trying to transition. I bet you they don't have a dad at home. Yeah. Just like the gun kids. Just like you know, all the school shooters are all fatherless. And
if they do, it's not a very strong father.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what's the problem, right? It's gross. Men are the problem here. They're the ones that need to be removed and silenced and whatever.
Dude, the attack on men and women, honestly, on both sides is just, it's phenomenal right now. Like, the feminist movement, thank God that's coming to a light and everyone's seeing that was just created. They just wanted our money and to make money off us and attack us and stuff. But now men, they, like, we have so much in our foods, water, air, clothes, all that stuff that just, like, emasculates and just, it's sad. Like, I couldn't imagine dating right now. I think I'd lose my mind. I'm so thankful that I found Nick when I did because, like, I'll be single. I'll single parent for the rest if anything happens to us because I don't think I'd have the heart to do it. I just feel like everyone's so like weird, and like all like the weird new like genders you'd have to like disclose, and all the weird new like crap out. I have no interest. I couldn't.
What's it like? Anybody out there? Do you know anybody? Dusty, have you been dating? Do you know anybody dating?
No, not really. I've gone on a couple shooting the dates, but like I take people to the gun range, but
That's fun.
it's not really. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not nothing serious.
It's
I'm
fun.
kind of out on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's. I think most people just don't like this fast dating anymore. It's kind of like, I'm not gonna disrupt my peace unless you're 100% worth my time and my energy.
Well, and finding people, I feel like, is twice as hard nowadays. No one wants, like, I knew people when I was in my, like, early 20s that were starting to use, like, Match.com and all that, and I was like, dude, why are you using, like, a website? Like, my mom uses that. Like, it's just weird. I could never. And even now, like, I have girlfriends, like, oh, Plenty of Fish this. I'm like, dude, that is just...
No.
I couldn't.
Not for you.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
If I'm not going to meet
I just find people...
I'm not meeting them.
I kind of say the dating thing is like fakes and flakes. It's like you either have people that are highly filtered and then you meet them, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And everyone's always like, oh, you look exactly yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so...
And or they're flaky. And that's the thing is it's somebody that wants to get into a relationship. I have kids now. I can't have someone that's flaky with me. You either are you're in with me or you're not.
Yeah.
I need a ride or die that I'll use a shotgun in the passenger seat if I need you to.
Yeah.
I need you to bury someone in the back. Not that I would, but you know what I mean.
No questions
I need that type
asked,
of loyalty.
just the kind of where are we putting the body type thing. Yeah, you need the
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't even.
I need the Italian gangster wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just not a lot of
down to ride, and it's now it's the easy, quick gratification. Like everything is, like all social media, everything is just quick scroll. They just want the quick gratification. Like I still can't like Tinder and Grindr, like the straight and gay versions of just like, okay, where are you? You're close to me. Let's meet up and have sex. Like,
yeah,
what?
It's wild.
That still to me is like. Just because you're in my vicinity, wild. Hey, you're like 3 blocks from me. Come over. Like, ew.
Right.
It's like Uber, but for people.
Right?
It's so weird.
And it's not. It's now. Yeah. Like, no wonder sex is seen as so like frivolous. Like, it's just. It's gross. I think that's.
Well, and that's just the pinnacle of the last 40 years of them pushing towards. You know, Jordan Peterson talks about how the birth control pill. Cause it's like sexual revolution, and then when some women are throwing their bodies around like frisbees, and then they're complaining that guys aren't elevated enough to be with them. Well, you're throwing your body around like a frisbee, so why would a guy, if he can't get you, he'll go get another frisbee, right?
Yeah,
and so in the old days, you had to work your ass off, you had to open doors, you had to do the minimum stuff too, and you had to have a job, you had to, you know. A lot of men are even tapping out of the workforce now. They'd rather play fucking video games with their buddies.
Dude, I find that I love video games. Don't get me wrong. I like gaming. I find them fun. I don't do it very often anymore, and when I do, it's very different. But the amount of like when I was growing up, the guys that were like super wanting to get jobs in video games and do that and this, I was like, there's no way. And now that is. Like
it's a thing.
Well, even streaming, you can play video games. You don't even have to like work for it. You can play video games, stream, and be good at it and make money. Like the fast and easy money industries that are coming out, like OnlyFans and all that crap. Like it's wild how easy fast money is never easy to get out of because it's easy. You can make tons of money doing nothing. Yeah.
You get to that lifestyle.
Well, and the satisfaction and the like, what's the word I'm looking for? The gratification and the validation, that's the word, of people watching you do something. Video games, OnlyFans, whatever it is. And I find that the cheap, quick gratification is just kind of, it's getting old and tiring.
I feel, it's gonna
and that's part of the, that's kind of where our society's gone wrong too, is that we've flipped what our priorities are, our highest priorities are, where it used to be our integrity and our moral values would be, you know, because let's say when you had God or universe or whatever you believe in, and you're trying to attain a higher standard for your life, you're not putting money as the highest standard. We're putting money in and pleasure and happiness as our number one thing, when it's, you know, and at the end of the day, that's, you know, when people are at the end of their lives. Right.
And
Very
it's not,
short-term.
it's surface level. It's not
I'm gonna have a
deeper
beer.
too, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, 100%. I'm having a new energy drink. It's called Bum Energy by Chris Bumstead.
Bum energy. I love
Well,
that.
Chris Bumstead,
Chris
yeah.
It
It's actually
is.
it's only
It's
Oh,
a
Oh,
it's
perfect.
that's
actually it's a cold brew Guinness. It's pretty
Oh,
cool. It's
that's
got like
cool.
coffee in
that's
it,
not bad.
so
Oh,
it's only 4%.
that's
EV.
It's pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, no, I think too a lot of stuff has been cheapened. I think, and
Oh
with all due
yeah.
respect to OnlyFans models, like I don't want to shade
there's
people,
no
but it's kind of
value.
like
Yeah.
cheapened relationships and sex and intimacy, and I
Right.
feel like it's really like harmed couples and people's with their self-esteem. And I get it for
Oh
them.
yeah.
It's done great, and I can understand that, and I'm sure it's healed a lot of trauma by being able to take sexual control again, and I understand a lot of that. But then when you look at the repercussions of every woman and man not feeling like they live up to what's in the porn industry, and they're
Yeah.
not talking to each other, and you wonder if this stuff was talked about more, if couples talked about this more, if they could reconcile some of those differences for these unrealistic expectations they don't even consciously know they're putting on each other.
It's like all those things that are
Right.
to split up like the nuclear family. I think porn is the one that drives the husband and wife the furthest apart, right? Like that is put
Right.
there to like we will never, as regular human beings who don't have plastic everywhere on our bodies, won't live up to that. Like that is such a shitty standard to have to reach. I do not have platinum blonde hair. I'm not 6'2" with legs that come up to my ears, and like it's just like boobs that come out to here. Like it's wild. Some of the, and even guys, like some of the guys in there are so ripped, but that's what they spend their life doing, is working out, getting that physique.
Right.
That is their job and their image. Like it just sets everyone up for such failure. And like, yeah, like you said, it cheapens sex, because that is not what sex is. That is
Right.
extreme.
And it's such an easy thing to fall into, because I mean, I think we talked about this in the first one, where it's like since the 80s. I mean, I was born in 75, so I was a kid in the 80s, and you look back at some of the Spielberg movies, they were highly sexualized, and sexual innuendos and all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I remember as a young man, that's all I was thinking about: sex, 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 sex. And then it became easier because it came on the internet, you know. And it was like,
Just like
you didn't have
Playboy.
to steal your dad's Playboy,
Playboy.
I'll
right?
say, or
To see
DVDs or
boobs.
VHS or
Right. Right. And the problem with porn is that it ramps up. It's like a medication.
Yeah.
You start looking at boobs when you're,
12.
10 years
Yeah.
old, laughing at it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're looking at a midget on a horse doing some weird shit. And you're like, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, cause
Yeah.
it ramps up, and then it becomes this
It's
like,
very much a spiral of like, you start
Right.
pretty tame and it just slowly
Pretty vanilla.
gets dangerous.
and if you have any turbulence in your relationship, that you're trying to get that dopamine high, you're running to it. So a lot of married guys, and the young guys are doing it too. And it's a hard thing to get
It
off.
takes away your intimacy, like between each other too, like because you've
Right.
already gotten your hit. You don't need it later from your
Right.
wife or husband. Like it ruins a
Right.
lot.
And if you're
Yeah.
not talking about that, then the wife is going to be sitting here being like, why doesn't he want to have sex with me? Then he
Thinking
rather
it's
want
Am I
you.
not good
Yeah.
enough?
thinking it's you.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you just had that
And vice
communication,
versa.
that talk of, like, I don't think it's necessarily an unhealthy thing, but I think it's about boundaries in your own relationship, right? And what you feel comfortable. But I personally think it even subconsciously sets everyone up for failure,
Yeah.
whether you want to
Right.
be conscious of it or not, because in the back of your mind, when you fantasize about stuff, you're gonna have, if you don't have that context in your head, you're not going to be able to really create it, right? So
Yeah.
it's just feeling more unrealistic, and then you go to have, and then these teenage boys, especially now, get on the internet, like my brother's age, when the internet first came out, and that's the first thing they're seeing is,
Yeah.
and they're also seeing all different kind of sex, like gay porn, and they're looking at it and they're like, we don't know, and they're already confused, and this looks great, and I think it really clouds people's judgment.
Well, like my
and it can be very
Right.
dangerous.
my favorite memorialized self on the internet of me talking about anal sex, like her, the first thing she's ever gonna learn is like creepy, hardcore, like gross inappropriateness from the internet. Like that really scares me. That's that could potentially be her first introduction to what sex
Right.
is. And it's like some kids, like with parents that aren't comfortable talking about it, that is literally how they learn about it, is friends finding like one of those old school. Me and my girlfriend were in the second grade, found a Kama Sutra book in her mom's room, and then the internet came in like the 5th and 6th grade, and it was just everywhere. That was, go to this game, go to this website, there's this like dirty this, and like I'll never forget like E-Bombs World and like all those shitty websites. I remember when we were young, when we used to call those 1-800 numbers just to listen to like the like raunchy like moaning on the phone. Like it has escalated so
God.
far from when like it
Cringe.
first started for us, right? Like it's just
I feel
wild to
like-
think.
Yeah.
And just think, like, if a kid is hearing this from their teacher about anal sex, do you think they're not going to go home and look it up on the internet?
100%.
And then what
Right.
are they going to find when they type that in?
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
Or even some
And
of
that's going to be their
the trans and
Right.
gay terms and stuff that they're going to be
Right.
teaching them and learning.
Right.
Like, oh, exactly, like anal sex or like blow jobs or like rim jobs.
Right.
Go Google that on their computer, like innocently, like, well,
Right.
what is that though?
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
blue waffle all over again.
Yeah, I feel like Kay, you kind of you're getting to that point with Cash where you have to kind of like watch his YouTube because you've seen some random stuff when he's just watching innocent kid stuff and you're like, what the fuck?
That's
Right.
exactly like Dusty was saying. Like, it just kind of, it's like you start somewhere and then next thing you know, you're just like, there's this huge rabbit hole of like where you can end up. I have to screen everything he does. He's 7 years old and I'm constantly checking his history, search stuff. I'm like, I need to know what you're doing. And I listen when he's playing games with somebody. I listen to, like, I will take the earphones off his head and I'll be like, hey, who are you talking to? I'll ask them. I'm like, are you a child? Like, I get right into, I'm like right in there. I'm like, if you're going to
I would
have
too, are you
these
kidding?
privileges, like, it's a privilege to be able to play online with a bunch of random people. But if you're going to do this, I need to know who you're interacting with. And when he gets like sketchy people that start trying to talk to him, I go right on there and I'm like, listen,
Yeah,
he's a
absolutely
fucking
not,
kid. You
yeah.
need to fuck right off right now.
Right.
Or like, seriously,
I
I
will
will
find
not
you.
tolerate this. I will find you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter one time when she was maybe 6 years old, I came into the room and she's giggling and she was on kids YouTube and it was Dora the stripper. It was like Dora as an adult. I wonder if they still have it on
They
YouTube.
probably do. I think.
And it was a whole
God.
series of Dora the Explorer as an adult. And she's like, one of them, she was getting loaded and going out partying with her buddies. And
That's well,
fucked
like
up.
yesterday I sent
it's the groomers are out there.
I sent you guys that snip. I was looking for that new Barbie movie with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and I didn't realize it hadn't come out yet, but I went onto my Apple TV and searched Barbie, and I'm scrolling, and it's all like kids' cartoon Barbie movies, and then at the very end is the movie 13 with Evan Rachel Wood that was like super inappropriate, and that's amongst all the Barbie movies. I was like, what is that? And I screenshot it and I sent it to you guys because I was like, dude, what the fuck is that doing amongst all these cartoon Barbie movies? Like, that is the opposite of like a child's movie. And it's thrown in there, sprinkled in, so you accidentally click on it and then you're watching Dora strip. Like, what the hell?
Well, and then the things like as innocent as Roblox. I don't know if your kids play with the Roblox.
I've heard so much
So
nightmare.
I come in the room and she's playing with her because it's online with her cousin, and I knew she was just playing with her cousin, and I walked by and it said, because it says the names of who's else is playing it, and one of the names was Cum Guzzler, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And right when I said that, my brother-in-law phones me and goes, are you looking at what I'm looking at? I said, yeah. And we got both girls off of it. And it's like the groomers are on all those kids things. So you have to be on it all the time.
They can put up posts on every Instagram thing we make. They can call out from just videos of simple words that we use, but they cannot do anything to censor that on kid platforms. Like, tell me how that makes sense. Where, like, how?
Totally. One of my buddies on Instagram, I actually haven't met him yet, but he's back in Winnipeg, Remy, and him and I were going after these guys that were trying to groom little girls to join their website, and we were the ones who were getting in shit about it.
Oh my god!
It's like these guys were like putting 12-year-old girls in
That's the thing too.
in their
Is
little shorts.
you seem to get backlash when you the new thing of like, oh, you're just a homophobe, a transphobe, you're a this, you're a that. No, I am looking out for children's best interests. Which, if you're not, there's something the matter with you. If you are not looking out for children's best interests in any way, shape, or form, you have the problem. But somehow, we're always like, oh no, we're going to press charges because you like invaded his privacy. Invaded his privacy? Well, pardon me. Like, God.
Just like that clown in Ontario. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No. I was just gonna say, just like the shooter down in the States. You know, it's like I'm not trying to be this way, and again, no disrespect, but it's like you guys are all about labels, but the minute that label is associated with a crime, which is the exact reason
You
why
don't
this
want it.
person committed the crime, you don't want it. You don't want association with it. And I don't think that's fair, because the exact reason,
No.
like, that was a targeted thing. If it was any other religion, this would have been blown.
Oh,
There was
totally
another one
different.
too they just found.
totally.
There was another girl that was planning a similar thing to go shoot up a school and some churches, and it was a whole manifesto.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, you want the label so bad, you're going to hold it in every situation. And this right here is just like, I got not an argument, but a discussion with someone I know saying, like, he's like, I don't understand why you think it's so important that she was like labeled as a trans person. I said, because she has a mental health issue. She's been giving testosterone, which is known to make you more aggressive. And then she goes and shoots up a school, an elementary school, and kills 3 kids and 3
That
teachers.
she used to go to.
It is a contributing factor. It needs to be
Right.
known, because if she has a mental illness and was given that testosterone or whatever, and it was amplifying it, that needs to be a known thing.
Yeah.
Because-
Just like when
Yeah.
moms kill their kids, what drugs are they on? It's the same thing.
Right.
What led them to
Nick,
that?
she's coming
That's how
upstairs.
That's how we, that's how we figure out how not to have this happen in the future. So
You
it's
need
like
to
those
know
things
all
are
contributing
important.
factors, everything.
And it's not saying that
Yeah,
means
and-
that all trans are going to shoot people.
No.
That's not what we're saying.
No.
We're
Right.
saying that those are facts, because if it was a white man or a white woman or, whatever.
if it was
I'm
a
not
black
saying that,
guy.
or a black
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah.
it would have
Right?
been treated very
Or a
different.
woman.
Or woman. Like,
Yeah, and what were they offended by? The media. They were worried. They were
Yeah.
the most offended that it was misgendered.
yes.
Not that a bunch of little tiny Christian kids got killed.
Yes.
You
That
know,
bothered me.
if they were
That really
Muslim
bothered
kids or
me.
some other race,
Yeah.
they would have been a
Well, that's
fucking
the thing. It
outroar
would have been
about
an
it.
outrage, but because they're Christian kids, you're not allowed to
It
give
would've
a
been
crap
racial.
because they're white. They're white children, and us.
And they're Christian.
It sounds
They
terrible
believe in
too,
God.
and I hate saying that because it does, like, racism is real, and I will give it that. It is a thing. People are rude to people of other
Cool.
races. I am not. I could care less if you are what color you are. I judge you on the person you are on the inside. But the fact that we are not allowed to be proud of anything to do with our heritage, our culture, or anything because we are white, I find to be an absolute joke. And I'm so tired of it because, yeah, like,
Right.
we can't, like, it just, as soon as something happens to us, we can't be upset about it because, well, but you're white. I mean, if it was, like you said, if it was a black school, it would have been outrage. If it was a Muslim school or a
Right.
Jewish school or any kind of denomination school, outrage. But because it was a white Christian
Right.
school,
Good.
it
Too bad-
gets-
too bad for
and-
them.
it gets notoriety and it gets, like, put on the news, but it's kind of...
And the facts are, when you look at all the polls, all the studies, all the data that's out there, the least racist countries in the world are all Western white nations, and predominantly Western white
I
nations,
feel like
right?
we're multicultural.
If you-
It's by default. Like, we...
Right. Well, and that's it. But I'm just saying, like, it's like Canada, U.S., European countries, Australia, New Zealand are the ones with the lowest level of racism when they take off all the demographics. China, India, African countries, Middle East all rank at the highest totals of racism, right?
Interesting.
And they sit here and they blame us, just like they did with slavery. We haven't had slavery in Canada since the late 1700s.
Well, there's also
So black,
white
you
slaves,
know what I mean?
but no one wants to talk
Right.
about that, and black slave owners, but no one wants to talk about that.
Right. And if you look at the countries that don't have slavery, again, it's the predominantly white Western nations. There's no slavery in any of them. You go to Africa, there's still countries that have slavery. You go to the Middle East, you go to China, you go to India, you go to all these other places, and there's still slavery. But it's the white people and the European culture that's the toxic one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we have our bad things, but
Everybody.
it's not a white cancer. It's a human issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's human beings.
Humans are gross. It's not a white human thing. It's just humans in general.
Right. It's humans.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
And it's sad that you want to have these conversations and you just
But
feel
you
like you
can't.
can't because you feel like you're going to get ripped apart. And what the interesting
Yeah.
thing is it's like, don't judge a book by a cover, because all of us at some point are going to have some connection, to Indigenous, to whichever, you know what I mean? Like Kayla,
Right.
for example, like, you've got white and you've like, Candace Owens was talking about this the other day. It was like, and Amala off of PragerU, like, if you are of both, like white and say black, which one do you check, right? Why isn't there like a
Which one do you
multiracial,
identify it with more, or like which one
Exactly.
are you more? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like there's this very much systematic part where it is like categorizing you based on that. And they were actually talking about college admissions, and this one guy was saying,
Right.
well, we definitely look at like race and gender and sexual preference, and they were arguing, Candace Owens and Amala were arguing about like why though. Like that's essentially
Yeah,
telling those
why?
people that they
Right.
are only valuable because of those things, not because of their smarts or their talents
Yeah.
or
Their
whatever.
academics. Yeah.
I find it
Just stuck in a
interesting
box.
too that like since like everything like like segregation, like we are so far past that, but I have seen more stories of like only like black graduation, black this,
Right.
or like Asian graduation day versus like just graduation like for everybody. Like they're now starting to have like designated like graduation days or celebration days for like specific like races within college, and it's like,
That's weird.
why? You're
I
all
know.
Right.
graduating the same program.
I
Congratulations.
posted that on April the 4th. April the 4th is the anniversary of Martin Luther King's assassination, and they announced that they had a black only lounge in a Canadian university. And it's like, you just went back to segregation, you idiot.
Like
On
now
on
you
that
want to
on that
segregate
too.
to be your own kind of we want to be like
Right.
exclusivity of like your, but then that's going to come up to like you were saying, Brandy, the like half black half white. How like are you black enough to be black? Are you white enough to be white? Like you're
Right.
never going to make everyone happy. Can we just all be like a person, like people? There's no more races. We're just the like human race.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's what it was in the 90s. I don't know why it had to go back to this
there was
bullshit.
this
Like
Well,
like it was cool back in the 90s.
There's this
Everybody was
really
cool with
good
each other.
video of, I think it's Bill Nye, to be honest with you. I think it was him
it
destroying
would be.
racism and saying, like, the color of your skin is based on how close you are to the equator. So how lucky you were to
Right.
live, like, that's the only, like, we're all the same race. It's just, if you live closer to the equator, there's a good chance you're going to be darker skin color because you get all
Right.
the more sun, right? Like, and then there's us poor Canadians up here getting 4 months of summer, and you know, like, it really does shock me that we are still talking about this, and it is prevalent. It is more prevalent now than it has been for a long time. Racism and like
Right.
segregation
Right.
and like separation of, yeah, I find it so bizarre. We're very much going backwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
well,
think
Yeah, it pisses me off because I've never been like
Exactly.
that, and it's just like,
no.
I don't give a shit where you came from. I don't care what freaking pigmentation you have in your skin. Like,
I care
if
about,
you're an asshole,
yeah,
if you're an asshole, I don't like you, and if you're nice, then you're probably one of my
I
buddies.
care about how you treat your wait staff and service jobs,
Right.
and
Right.
like what kind of person you
Right.
are, not what color you are. That
Right.
I could give a shit. Like that doesn't bug
Mhm.
me. Colorblind completely.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with sexuality. If whatever
I
you
don't
do in the
care.
bedroom, just don't tell me about it.
Your
My
shit.
buddies and I don't talk about it. I've
Yeah.
been buddies with these guys for 30 years. You might say, "Oh, I hooked up." But that's as far as it goes. You don't need to tell me the details.
Mhm.
I don't want to know, man.
no, it's
Yeah,
private.
Like seriously,
keep
I don't
it-
I don't want to picture my
personal.
buddy laying into somebody.
No.
That's gross.
Kind of weird.
I just find
It's
it
weird.
I find it crazy that like, yeah, we can't like you can't be anymore. You got to have an explanation and a title and a label and like
Right.
the pronouns and
Totally.
the
Little box.
yeah, just be
Yeah.
who you are.
You know what it comes down to? I've thought about this. It's narcissism. It's because,
Mhm.
and maybe is it because of our devices? Are we becoming more
Narcissism is
narcissistic as a society?
Mhm.
Yes.
Because the fact that somebody wants to change the English language that's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years to suit their own individual feelings, that's pure narcissism.
Even the French language is
The
based
whole-
on gender.
It's
Right.
so based
Right.
on gender.
It's masculine and
This is my
feminine
favorite
pronouns.
argument.
Like that's
Right.
literally what
Right.
French is based on. Same with Spanish.
Right.
There's a lot of languages.
Russian,
Yeah.
Spanish, yeah, all those, yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
wild too.
it's crazy.
I don't understand, and I don't understand why we can't talk about it or question it.
No.
It's like we
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
this-
you're all of a sudden a bigot or whatever.
How it's such a
Yeah,
hot
and-
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I was actually on Superstore the other day, just I don't want to like necessarily jump back to race, but it was like an episode that Superstore did where they were making Garrett to talk about all the ways that he was oppressed from being black, and then Dina was like, "Oh, I don't see color," and he's like, I don't understand where you white people got this from, and I understand both sides because I get where they're saying, if you say that, then you're invalidating all their experiences. And I never want to do that because I can't speak on that, right? And like, I
Yes.
understand that. But there, again, I don't know how many times I have to say this. There could be two truths at one time. You know what I mean? Like, there could be a very big movement forward in racism where a lot of us, it's not that we don't see your color, it's that we think you're the exact same as us. We don't see you below or above us. And that's what that means. It doesn't mean that we don't see that there are racist assholes in the world, because there
Yeah.
are. There is the KKK. There
Totally.
are people that do look at people of color, but there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Actually, Amala brought this up too. I think I'm saying her name wrong, but she said, like, even in the like biracial like group, there's still a hierarchy, right? If you look at like
Oh yeah.
BIPOC, right? It's Black, Indigenous, I think it is, and then it's like people of color, right? So it's like there's even a fight within there in that community as well, and it's like people are afraid to talk about it, and it's, you know, now it's like kill men, kill white men, kill everybody, da 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 da, and it's just like, how did we get there? We've gotten better as a
Yeah.
society, but now there's this huge group saying all these people should be killed. I just don't quite understand that.
Well,
When the funny thing is they call us the majority, but in the whole swath of the planet, Caucasians are the minorities. Especially redheaded, blue-eyed white men are the absolute. They're like unicorns, you know. And you want to kill them? You know, again, you're going after the Irish again.
The one thing I found to be quite crazy is I saw those signs all over Instagram of trans rights or else, with the like guns and stuff, and like,
yeah,
I thought that was quite wild. That, yeah, if we were to say white rights or whatever or else, or like if black people were to say that, like, give me a break.
Yeah.
The fact that those were t-shirts and were made, like, but like us four can be censored online for sharing truth.
One thing I don't like either is you're equating Canadian and American with the two different societies as far as the race relations go.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. Jackie Robinson was playing baseball in Montreal before he went down to the States because we didn't have those policies up here.
Yeah.
We didn't have those social problems, especially in Quebec.
Yeah.
I mean, Quebec has been very, you know, multicultural since its inception.
Oh yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I still find it very. I don't like being lumped in with the States always because of that thing.
No.
Like, our cultures are so vastly different that, like, yeah, I feel like their racism surpassed ours for sure. Like, we were way more progressive in that sense. So yeah, I'm with you. And like, even traveling, how often do Canadians, oh, American? No, Canadian. And how many times Americans, when they get mistaken, oh, Canadian, they're like, yeah, because people like Canadians. You don't like Americans very much when traveling, right?
I mean, I'd say in Canada, if we have a racism problem, it's how we treat the Indigenous population,
That's for us,
and we still all we do is we just give lip service to it. We never actually try to solve the problem.
Well, look,
you know,
I mean, there's still not running water.
Oh, sorry,
no.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I'm absolutely shocked when I heard that. Like, how the fuck in Canada don't we have running water to every, like, clean running water to everybody in the country?
Right? Like, that's not here at home. No, that's literally in our backyard.
Right.
We have tons of communities without drinkable water. Like,
but now if you
40,000. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was to say, now if you misgender someone, though, the government of Canada is going to have like a whole thing where they're going to fine you.
But
like,
Ontario, it was like $25,000.
That's what I'm saying. So
I want to know more about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's gone through.
What's called Bill 94. I can actually, I'll send you guys the link to the actual bill. It's basically, it's really loosely worded, so it's going to be something where it's up to interpretation, which is dangerous, right?
They leave it general.
And it's basically, you have to be 100 meters away from the properties that they have these drag show, you know, the story times. Anywhere they have one of these events, you have to be 100 meters away. Is it
specific to drag story time, or is it going to be like gay?
Anything, yeah, anything trans, LGBTQ, two-spirited, whatever they want to call it. And then it's like hate speech, and which is, like I said, this so loosely. They're allowed to say things like Nazi, but I don't. It's such a double standard with the way they use the hate speech laws too. Hate
speech, like the fact that they're telling these children that there's something wrong with them and they need to change their bodies is hate speech, in my opinion.
Right,
but,
right,
you know.
Right. It's genital mutilation. Like we're just as bad as those sub-Saharan African countries that do female mutilation.
It all lends to the depopulation agenda, because now we have like an entire generation or two that are so medically like stunted that there's no hope in hell for half of them having children or doing anything of the sort to reproduce. Man, the amount of people in my generation being affected right now by infertility is mental. I know of people that are doing IVF at my age. I know people that are like having to go through like hoops and jump through everything to try and have children. And now they've just further like ruined that with all the products and garbage that we're already like ingesting. Like it really, people that think the depopulation agenda is not a thing are blind. In my opinion, blind.
And now it's free birth control in BC.
Yep.
I saw that. I saw that today.
I get it. I know a lot of people get upset with me about it. You guys all know how I feel about this. We're actually going to do a whole episode on that coming up soon. Actually,
free feminine hygiene products would be better than birth control, in my opinion.
I just, as long as informed consent is coming with this, because I sure as fuck didn't have it. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand that. And we talked about this the last episode, Dr. A too, like this isn't, it's not a hormone that you're taking. It's a drug to stop your body from what it's naturally doing. There's nobody that can tell me that that is good and natural for.
And it's sold under such crappy, like, oh, acne. Oh, you're cramping. Oh, take this. It'll help with this. And it's not, but it could cause this side effect or like there's no discussion of the crappy side effects. It's always what it could do for you.
Right. I think we talked about this in the first time we met was with like it would be much more effective to teach women about their cycle and what days. I mean, you're only fertile on a few days of the month.
I tried seriously to have that conversation with Nick yesterday and telling him, I'm like, there's literally like 5, maybe 6 days a month that I can actually get pregnant from us having sex. And he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, 1, you're going to talk to me about my body. Thank you. 2, like, like, what do you, because we're just all told that like, unless you're using a condom, you can get pregnant at any time. Anytime. So he's like, no, there's not. I'm like, yes, there is. There's literally like, it's like a week a month. It's not
if
that
there's
difficult.
no egg there, you're not getting pregnant.
Yeah,
you know?
like, but no, we're taught convenience. And like, if you don't, the worst part is when I was young, skipping your period was so popular. And like, I don't know how many times I would skip over it. That is not good for you at all. Oh my God, at all.
But you're not even having a real
You just
either,
keep
right?
taking your pills. Like, you don't, you know, the sugar pills, you just keep taking them and it skips right over it. I remember doing that so often when I was young, and I probably did so much damage to myself not realizing it.
Absolutely. And I think too, like a big thing is we're not educated on that. We're not educated on what the side effects are and how that's actually going to change us mentally, because a lot of women, if you think about it too, a lot of divorce seems to happen like around when you're having babies and stuff and after. And I think because everyone's on birth control
your
and
hormones.
They're not. So you change what you're actually attracted to, right? So I don't know. I think there's attack on hormones everywhere. And it just like, as long as people are informed about what's going to happen. Because if I was told, hey, you know what, as an adult, you're probably not going to be able to have a baby, I don't know that I would have cared so much about just having sex with everyone. But you're so sold that your worth is how many people you have sex with. And so I don't want to have babies. And I also want to talk about like, there's a huge generation coming out now that doesn't want to work and that doesn't want to have families because, ew, babies, pregnancy, gross. And it's like,
work.
They're like selfish almost. It's a very selfish generation where they want to make as much money as they can. They want to travel, which good for you. They want to like amass like items and just like legacy, which like, I mean, good for you, I suppose. But yeah, like it's the new, I don't want to have kids and like, that's scary.
And it's terrible.
That's
scary.
Why
is it so terrible? I understand people not wanting them for multiple reasons, but why is it being sold that being a mom or being a dad or being a family unit?
It's such a disruption. Yeah.
And it's like, what? Like, I don't quite understand that. I know some people, you know, they're just like, no, I don't want to have kids. That's disgusting. And it's like, that's such a different conversation than like 10 years ago, you know? And
I'd physically
ask them when they're 50. Ask them when they're 50 how they
feel
about that choice.
I'd fight someone if they tried to tell me that my daughter was a handful and just like, there's no point in having them. And like, are you crazy? Yeah, they suck sometimes. Sure. I'll be the first to admit they can be a pain in the butt, but like, why is that such a terrible thing to have inconvenience in your life? We're so used to, everything being able to be fixed so quickly and just the instant, like, everything's better that, the kids aren't that way. They will cry for 45 minutes uninterrupted if you let them sometimes. Like, that's just, it gets in the way of, your gaming and your, like, getting drunk with your friends and your life that you're so desperate to have. Maybe you shouldn't have had a child. That's
I
a
just don't
thing.
get why
Yeah,
it's sold. It's all sold. That what's
Yeah.
cool is to be a person that sleeps around with everybody, that
And
sells their
families are
bodies, that
such
has no
burdens, and
connection.
yeah,
Families are such burdens. Like
cost
you're
too much money. And
less. Yeah, you're less if you work from home or work stay at home mom or things like. I just don't understand where that came from.
was it's all that agenda to just to causes society become cancerous,
Yeah, like
because when you
separate.
and then now we have like the genders fighting against each other. Well, it's men, it's women, it's men, it's women. Well, no, we both have to take responsibility and clean up our own shit.
well, we both have
and
our
and and
roles. I don't know why people are so
right,
scared of gender roles.
and stop being so fucking selfish, and do your shit to make us both better.
Yeah.
Like even with the thing with the porn thing, like if a woman knows her husband's worked all day, and I know that's changing now, more women are in the workforce and there'll be more men at home. But whoever's staying at home, make a fucking effort, make a nice dinner, and whether it's the man or the woman that's at home, be romantic, try to like get something going, and you're gonna have a more successful relationship when you're paying attention to that person.
It should be reciprocal for sure, like you said. Like
Right.
if no matter who is making the money, like if you're both working, that's even there. Go home,
Right.
make dinner together. Like
Right.
make it like a date night thing. Take turns. Like it's not hard, and people need to like. Well, he just wants me to cook because I'm the woman. Well, are you home all day? Well, yeah.
Right.
I love cooking.
Well, like
I do
you also
love
have to
it.
eat yourself. So like, are you not going to cook food anyways? Like that's what I don't get.
Right.
Is like you need to eat as well. So like cooking for your family and cooking for your husband or cooking for just yourself, you're still having to eat. So
Right. And even just take pride in what you do around the, like if you have to do laundry, it's laundry, but take pride in it. Do the best you can. If you have
laundry.
to,
I'm such
Right.
a
Right.
Nazi when it comes to folding. I cannot let Nick do the folding. It drives me nuts. Laundry is mine.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think
cool.
it's
Then
balancing, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everyone. This is what I don't understand is like people get so caught up on gender roles, whether that's bad or
Yeah.
good. It's like some days, like for the most part, Grant will do the outside stuff and like the quote unquote boy stuff, but he's not here sometimes. I have to take out the garbage. I have to do that. Or if
Right.
he's working for 10 days straight and I have the weekend off,
Yeah.
of course I'm gonna fucking clean the house so when he comes home, he has a nice
It's
place to
clean.
enjoy. And that's not bending
Right.
the knee and giving to the patriarchy. That is being a spouse. Like if I'm going to go somewhere
Right.
with my girlfriends and he's not going to be there, I'm be like, hey, I'm going to go here. Is that cool? It's not because he's going to tell me what to do. It's because I fucking respect him and we spend 24/7
Yeah.
together. So if we're not going to spend time together, I'd be like, hey, then maybe he can make plans with his friends and then we get them together.
Or he
I
can
just
stay
don't
home and he can
understand.
clean the kitchen.
Yes, or
Same
whatever.
thing.
And even if
Right.
even if he doesn't, like I had this with my ex-husband too. Like he makes more money than me, hands down. So that energy, and he pays a little bit more. I'm gonna make that up in by taking care of the house because
Yeah.
I believe it's an energy exchange, not like you know what I mean. It's wild how you try to be
agree.
traditional and respect your spouse, and somehow that's like the bad thing to do. And you're like, me and Kayla have had this talk all the time. Like we just respect like
Right.
our
Yeah.
men. Like I just don't understand like
In the same
why
Well,
that's a bad thing.
in the same sense,
Yeah, you're-
I grew up with a
yeah.
single mom. Sorry, so me and my mom had to share all this stuff. So I was her house husband. She called me, and I did a bunch of the guy chores growing up. It's just
That's funny.
it's more of like
Luckily.
it's a split. It's more of just a responsibility sharing. If you live with someone and you're sharing your life with someone, you share things. You do things for
Right.
for each other and for yourselves at the same time. It's for the household, right?
Yes.
It's for your team. You're a team. If
Yeah.
you really love that person and you're not in it just for your own
Yeah,
selfish needs,
You're a we. You're
then-
no longer a me and
then
an I.
yeah, both go bust your ass together, make the relationship a kick-ass team, and go, because at the end of the day, like the name Van City Mountaineer comes from, I used to mountaineer quite a bit. And half the time it sucks. Fucking, you got blisters, you're miserable, it's pouring rain on you or it's snowing on you, your face is frozen. And it's like, but then you get to the peak and you're like, this is amazing. That's what life is about. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not the majority of the time. I'm not saying it always sucks in the mid section, but it's not always going to be pleasant either. And that's why, 80% of the divorces now are because the females just want to look for happiness, right? It's not, they don't want to stick it out. They feel like they're not being, but you have to make that effort to be
Yeah.
It takes work.
heard and have your needs met. Because a lot of the times the guys will meet you in the middle. They just don't know.
People forget
Right.
that
Yeah.
it's work. Relationships are work. They don't
Right.
just happen. And that's I
Right.
get that a lot too. People like, how did you guys? I'm like, it just, we wanted to be together. That's the whole point of it. Like we consciously made a decision that like we like each other enough to make the effort. Like I don't understand how people are so like I feel like the average relationship in this day and age, though, is like so much shorter than it used to be. Like, people like
it's good in a bad way too, though, right? Because
Yeah.
I think some people stayed together, and a lot of us can attest that some of parents have stayed together for the kids for
when they
whatever
shouldn't have.
reason, when they shouldn't have. So like I agree, but I also feel like it's good that people can escape it now more
Yeah.
because there's so many people like our grandparents' generation that stayed with their husbands for 60, 70, 80 years, and it's super toxic because that's all they knew, right? So I think I
For the
agree too,
kids.
though, because like I wasn't with the right person. Bless him. He is remarried with 3 kids. They seem really happy, and that's amazing. I'm happy for them. I'm happy here. You
Yeah.
know? And I always felt guilty being like, oh, you didn't try hard enough. And it's like, that's not always the
No,
case
fuck
either.
that.
There's a
And
difference
sometimes
between trying and then knowing when something
Yeah,
just isn't
knowing.
working and it's not good
Yeah.
for you, right?
Yeah. And so I think I'm really glad that there is that, but I also think that people now see it just like with pregnancy, with all that, because there's a quick solution like divorce or let's say
Yeah.
quote unquote abortions or morning after pill. Those decisions aren't taken as seriously as they actually are.
Should
And
be.
people are like, well, I have an exit, so I'm not gonna
Okay.
think too much about my consequences because I can just get divorced or I could just, you know what I mean? I can leave. Whereas before you had to really think about that, especially if you were a wife. Like, you know,
A lot of
you're not
times
dropping
divorce
it,
wasn't
it's
an
not
option.
easier. It
Like
wasn't,
in
right?
religions and certain households, like
Yeah.
it's just not an option. You do not get divorced. You tough it out,
No.
right?
And that makes it sad too, right? So I think it's a nice blend.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, the thing that's funny is that it's like, yeah, back in those men were, I mean, I don't even like using the word toxic, but they were more than like the modern man is, you know, my grandma's generation would think we were
Wimps.
like amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think they think we're wimps. I think
know.
they think we're
Like mentally?
because, you know, a
Mentally?
lot of guys can cook, clean,
That's
they
true.
share
In
the
that
household
sense,
duties,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, I think a lot of guys take the wimp thing because it's like they don't want to speak out because the society is totally against them. So they just take the submissive role.
I feel like
Right?
men,
They take
men
that
in the back in the
backseat.
day, though, people do say that, like, your grandfather and great grandfather fought in this war, that war, and the other war, and like you guys are playing
Right.
Call of Duty on your couch, like getting fat. So I see that side, but
Right.
it is true. Like back in the day, yeah, like men didn't do that because that was what men didn't do. There was no reason for it. It was just that's not a man's job. That's a woman's job.
Right.
So now I
Right.
feel like, yeah, it's a better mix of like women are willing, like you said, Brandy, to take out the trash and do like the yard work. Like I freaking raked my backyard today like a beast. And Nick sat on his ass watching the Masters. But like it's more of a balance now. So like I can see how, yeah, like they would think it's like it's nice, but it's different. It is like, but we also don't have men that are the first in line to like stand up for a woman or stand up for people. They're more like, I don't necessarily want to get in a fight. I'm non-confrontational. I find that like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. Like not the masculinity, but like the outright like what you would say is like typical, like not being like scrappy, but like men aren't as like physical and like you don't get in as many fist fights. Like I feel like fist fights back in the day were like a rite of passage for a guy. You had to get in fist fights. That's just the way it was. Like boys fought, boys got in fights, boys punched each other in the face, and it was just a thing. In movies.
Well, I can attest to that though. For during COVID, I was standing up, and man, women would avoid me like the fucking plague. Like they acted like I was Neanderthal.
Yeah.
So it's like when guys see that women don't seem to want guys like that, they back away and they start acting like pussies because they figure, okay, well, that's what women want.
Exactly.
And see,
they want a submissive man.
I saw a wave of women and mothers
I
standing up and like saying stuff, whereas it was a lot of guys were just kind of like tucked in the corner, like maybe agreeing and totally having the same thoughts, but not willing to say it. So it's
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, though. Like, how much are men dragged for ever having their opinion and being told that
toxic masculinity.
Exactly. So I understand where they're probably like, hey, I've been fighting and I've been saying stuff, but every time I do, I'm getting beaten down or ignored. Like that's
dragged.
Like all of a sudden, I'm you know, like I'm trying to do this because that's what you women say you want, and I'm doing it, and now you're telling me I'm toxic, I'm terrible, I need to be canceled. Like,
make up your mind.
Yeah, I kind of understand why you just sat down and shut the fuck up. But now it's like, okay, guys, we already went through that. We can see that by not saying stuff, this is what happened. So I'll forgive for this time. But if we come with this like a flu that's supposed to be coming next, like, no, I'm not having that now. You guys know, like, I'm done with that. And
if I were dating, it would be a prerequisite. If you're not going to be outspoken, if you're not going to have an opinion on nothing anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want someone that's just going to sit back. You have to have an opinion. I'm sorry. It's just, you don't have to be vocal about it. You don't necessarily have to like yell it at the top of your lungs, but you have to have an opinion on it, because sitting back and doing this and just like ignoring everything is how we got to where we are, where BC is just lifting mandates for healthcare workers. I told it to Nick, and he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, no, they're not. I'm like, yes, they literally just did that this year.
And they're still not hiring back the nurses, though. They're not hiring back the nurses still.
It's just mask mandate.
You know?
That's what sitting silent does, is it just perpetrates like nothing but trash and just like, I don't know. You have to have an opinion.
I want Kayla's opinion. She's been too quiet
on that.
Yeah.
Well, it's just there's 4 of us, right? So we can't.
I know.
I don't want to cut anyone off. It's just, I think it's really stupid. I think BC's in a kind of like a stone age right now, and then you have that thing with where the bill they're trying to pass in Canada. Like, I can't wrap my head around that. So I just need, like, I'm very confused by it. I think that it's so stupid that they're just lifting mask mandates in healthcare settings, like, and the vaccine and the bullshit. So if you don't have to be vaccinated to work there, are the nurses going to come back? Like, what's going to happen? Like, there should be some retribution there, I think. And Bonnie Henry, I just, honestly, I would light her on fire.
That's all you guys.
That's what I wanted.
I fucking light her on fire. I don't care. I just think that it's really bullshit. It's such bullshit. We didn't pick her. We didn't choose her. It's kind of very similar to the Last of Us and like Fedra and all that shit. Like, they just all of a sudden decided that people are just going to start dying and they're going to bomb people. And it's like, that's fucking scary.
For the
when
name
you watch
of
shit like that and
good.
realize how relatable that is, you're like, wow. And then the people that just sat back and just didn't do or say anything. And that's how I actually came across Dusty, is how outspoken he was. And I was like, hey, this is fucking awesome. Like, I agree, like, with a lot of this stuff. And, I almost think that if you didn't go through COVID and come out on the other side and think
something's wrong,
how amazing or courageous it is that a man could actually like say what he thinks, then I think you're kind of a little bit stupid. Because what do women want then? I want a man that has a strong opinion. I want a man that's going to fight for whatever he believes in. That's the kind of man that I want to be with. That's the kind of partner I want to have. So I don't understand this, like, the direction that it's going. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, as a guy, I mean, and I've talked to a lot of guys going through divorces, and honestly, as a man, we feel like we can't do anything right in this society right now. I'm not trying to be a victim or anything like that. It's just, it's like, no matter what we do. So that's why I kind of says, fuck it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, people are going to yell at me anyway, so I'm just going to say my shit. I'm going to say it the way I want it. And if you don't like it, then fuck off. Like, because nothing I do is right.
Right? We have space to grow. Like, why can't I say and have this opinion, and then I learn something new and I grow from that? Why do I have to be perfect all the time in everything I'm saying and thinking and doing? Like,
I think the start of like everyone's opinion and everyone's like truth thing, it kind of screwed everyone, because now if you have an opinion and people don't like it, you're automatically like canceled and like an absolute pariah. And it's like, well, all right.
Right.
But you can have all these awful opinions about everyone else, and it doesn't matter.
Right. And then on the other side, like, these beta guys, like, they're probably not even beta guys. They're just like, well, if I act like a normal toxic male, which isn't toxic, it's just maleness.
Just being a man.
I'm going to be criticized, so I'm going to go and be like ultra sensitive and help my woman out, and now I'm a little beta bitch. It's like, you can't win. You can't win. Right, so valid. It's like a lot of guys are just checking out. A lot of guys aren't getting married. They don't want to. They're just stuck into their porn and their video games because they don't get hurt that way.
Well, it's a rock and a hard place. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Right.
It's like fuck. It's just it's sad. Yeah.
And then you have people like Jordan Peterson, and as much as I don't love Andrew Tate, still people like Andrew Tate trying to pull these people up, and they're getting beaten down and saying, "Oh, you're just helping the incels and da-da-da-da," and it's like, no, they're helping people. Like, I don't understand. I don't give a shit who you are. Nobody deserves to feel like they need to kill themselves. And I just shared that study today that in Canada alone in 2019, 3 times men than women are killing themselves. More women are making it than men are, but more men are more successful. And I think there's a reason behind that because
men's mental health.
Yeah, they're at the end of the rope where it's like women don't have as much consequences for the things that they do. For example, if a woman murders somebody versus a man, more often than not, there'll be a lot of like, oh, there's a lot of reasons why she did that, and it'll be excused a little bit more versus if it's a man, he's a monster, you know, and things like that, where it's like you look at child support and courts. We see this with all of our single dad friends. They're less likely to get the child. They're likely to have to pay more money.
Yeah.
They're likely, you know,
and they get drugged.
Yeah, exactly. We know moms, and you girls know exactly what I'm talking about. They get away with so many things and so much toxic behavior to the men that are actually trying to be good parents. And I literally want to uppercut these cunts so badly. It's not even funny because I didn't have a good father and a good father presence. And it just upsets me when there's good men out there trying to be good fathers, and the women, for whatever fucking reason, can't put their shit aside to be co-parents and better parents. I don't give a shit what he did to you. Let that go. That's between you two. Do not affect the child. And I can say this as a child of fucking divorce. Do not do that.
A lot of it is monetary too. Like if a lot of women are going after the money, obviously, and if they have the kids more than 60% of the time, then they get more money. Yeah. So they will manipulate time with dad, even if dad wants 50%, they will take it away from you. They make excuses and this, you know, the kids are better suited here. Right? They'll make all these excuses.
Go through that, and it is honestly trash. If you're a willing and very like active participant in your kid's life as a dad, and someone's trying to take that from you, they deserve to have them taken away from them. Like I've seen some of those like Judge Judy and those like, I don't remember who that really pretty black judge lady is, but some of those shows where like the woman's going after the guy and he's like, and the child lives with him, most of the time, and he pays all the bills and pays everything for this child, but sorry, you're going after for child support. Well, and does your new boyfriend work? Well, and do you work? No, I don't want to work. What do you mean you don't want to work? I don't want to work. So you're living off of the child support. Yes. And she said, okay, well, it's officially cut in half, if not by like in a third. Because like that's what women do. They just want to live off of the child support. Right.
So if you're a man and you pay for your ex and the children to live in your family home, they only account half of that as you paying, because the other half is apparently your investment. So you can be paying, let's say, $3,500 a month towards all the bills in the home, but the court only assesses that as being and so you get drugged that way too.
I feel like men are set up really horribly when it comes to custody and like all that stuff. And like, this is my complete ignorance. Do women pay child support if something happens? No.
Yes.
Do they?
I think they're supposed to. Yeah.
It depends on who the primary earner is.
It really depends, and it depends on like who your lawyers are and who your judge is, and who you know, like family court is wild, and I think
it is really creepy.
It depends. We have friends that the moms have completely lied. They have been done terrible things, but the dads don't get that privilege because they go into court and they cry and they say all these things.
Sob stories
Exactly. And the dad's here trying. Like we see it all the time. And I think being in Alberta and Grand Prairie, that showed me that a lot. Not to be that way, but there's a lot of money chasing up there. It's really sad to see. And some
it's
of
the
our
lifestyle,
right?
I feel like Alberta has a lot of it because a lot of the dads are rig pigs and working on site and oil patch workers, and they're making good cash. So which is sad. I honestly, anyone that's willing to take care of their children that are denied that right is just absolute garbage in my opinion. Or like the dads that are getting in trouble for misgendering. That dad in BC that got like sued for misgendering his daughter, and all he wanted to do was he got called one day because she was going to be put on hormones. She was feeling trans that day, I suppose, and they were going to put her on hormones. And they said that they needed his permission or like mom and dad's permission, and he said he didn't give it. And so then they like pretty much like railroaded him and gaslit him into like not really giving permission, but like trying to get him on side. And then they ended up suing him because he misgendered her and called her a her. And so he wasn't allowed to like be like around her, and like he was like the government pretty much took control and said they're going to give her hormones starting this day, whether they wanted her on the hormones or not. And like I don't like, and it's scary to me that the government has powers to take parental rights from parents, like willing, active parents, just because like the new hormone thing, or that little boy that needed the cancer treatment and his mom like kind of wasn't on board for it because it's got really crappy side effects and really shitty, like she just didn't really feel comfortable. And yeah, the government can step in and say, sorry, this is our child now. This is I will, like, over my cold, dead, frozen, hard body. Honestly, like, show me a parent that isn't gonna like have to go to jail because they're like I just, the fact that I don't, the government gives me, what is it, $230 every few months for her, which pays for maybe a pack of diapers every so often. Like, the government has nothing to do with this baby of mine, and I'll be damned if they like think that they can make decisions on her behalf. Like, that's one of my biggest like worries too nowadays, is how like in your pocket they want to be with everything, especially in regards to my child. Me is one thing. I can handle myself, but she is too. She does not have, like, the fact that they can sit there and tell me that she knows she's a girl or knows she's a boy. She doesn't even know where her nose is most days. Like, give me a break.
Me neither, girl. Me neither.
Ah.
I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing, like, you know, I mean, you go back to the 80s and guys like Thomas Sowell and you know, there's number of people have talked about how detrimental fatherless homes are. I mean, you have higher rates of premarital sex, premarital pregnancy, higher gang violence, jail time, less graduation rates, lower college graduations. All the negative things that can happen in society are higher. The mental health, obviously.
When you're missing
like I said,
that
all
pillar.
99% of the school shooters in the U.S. don't have a dad at home, right? And I can guarantee you that the majority of kids that are confused about their gender probably don't have a dad at home, or a strong father, anyways, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's
and
because
so.
I think that's a lot of where that comes from. Sorry, it's just like when.
No, go ahead.
When you're. So I was just reading about this and I was telling the girls about it. I was reading about this because I'm studying like children for school and stuff like that. They say that gender and all that is heavily influenced by your environment. So I'll talk about it again. I went to a drag brunch with a girlfriend for her birthday, and there was a family there with he couldn't have been any older than 4. He was having a birthday party there. So they got a Paw Patrol birthday bag in the back, but there's drag queens running around collecting dollar bills from people. And this is an appropriate setting. And I'm just like, the kid's not showing interest there. It's not like the kid woke up one day and was like, Mommy, Daddy, I love drag queens. Like that doesn't happen.
He had no idea where he was.
He had no clue. And I watched the dad get the child to try to give the drag queen a tip. And the child was just like, the kids' eyes were like mine right now. They were just like, what the actual fuck is happening? And so I'll argue this till the day I'm dead. It's an parental influence or your environment. Like if you got friends that are feeding into it. My dad's raising teenagers right now. He's 60 some fucking years old and he's raising teenagers. And the day he told me that they had like kids going to school dressed up as fucking animals called Furbies or some shit, I was like, what then? What? I'm like, so like, where do you draw the line there? Like,
you can't.
You're gonna let them start doing that? Like, why are we?
Right.
What's wrong with you in your life? No offense, I'm not. And people are gonna. I have a really strong opinion about this, but what is wrong with you in your life where you feel the need to show up as that, but also force everyone else to identify you as that or accept that? Like. I'll always say that you should just like if you are 100% sure in who you are, and you're not going to be, and those are really crucial times in your life as a child. Those are very crucial times. So you're not going to be sure about who you are, but you just have to like yourself. And I had so much fucking shit in my childhood was fucked, right? Like you go back in our episodes, you'll hear it. Like my childhood was fucked from the beginning, and I got lucky and I got adopted into a good home. But I still struggled with my depression and my anxiety and that shit. And I was vulnerable. And that's the thing that's fucking scary. they're going after children who are vulnerable mentally. Why can't they vote? Why can't they buy booze? Why can't they buy porn? Like,
Get a
why can't
tattoo.
they?
Get a
Why can't
tattoo.
they get a tattoo?
Piercing.
You can't
Seriously,
go to a
why can't
trampoline
they
park.
vape?
You know?
Right? You have to have a parental signature
Yeah.
for everything. But you are going to allow them to change their anatomy because they feel something's different. That, like, I thought I was a fucking lesbian when how old was I? Grade 7? I thought I was a lesbian. I was fucking convinced. I got a girlfriend, and like, she tried to sit beside me, and instantly my whole body was like, this is not, no, no, no. My whole body just told me no, like, this is not how you are. You have an appreciation for men and women. I can appreciate a beautiful woman, that kind of thing. But I also had like fucked up sexual shit happen to me as a child. So you have to really look at it. You have to really look at those things. Like that shooter in America. What the fuck is going on in your brain that you think that those Christian children owe you
Deserved
their
that.
life?
Yeah.
For whatever
Right.
your
Whatever you went
delusion.
through.
It's a delusion.
And to me, that's why they're doing it. They're trying to normalize it in these kids. Where they're trying to make it into something that they're used to, right? People that get abused are more likely to go into things like
so
porn and all these other things because they've had that trauma
They want control
associated with their youth. Well, now you're doing that to these kids and making it normal. So it's all an agenda for these groomers to get at these kids at an earlier age.
Well, and that's why they're targeting the kids now, is because they are completely malleable. They don't know anything yet. They don't know. Dude, I had a frickin' like Nick Carter like mushroom cut as a kid. I was such a tomboy. I was just like, I knew how it was an honest to God fight to get me into anything other than jeans that were like baggier than sin. Like, I just cannot fathom where I would be right now if I was that in this time, in this day and age. I would be convinced I'm a dude, or I'm like this huge lesbian, which, yeah, like Kayla said, like, no. I may have had the haircut and I look like a huge lesbian, but I definitely am not. Like, I think
that it scares me too, because like, isn't that a part of teenage and your early 20s is to figure things out?
That's your initiation, is figuring yourself out. And be it gay, be it trans, be it whatever, that's fine. But you have until your 20s, like B said. That is not something you need to figure out at 13, at 7, at like 12. Like, and you have until
but to do these permanent changes where you're messing with your hormones. Speaking from someone who messed with their fucking hormones since she was 16 years old.
Yeah, I also miss like feminine men and masculine women, and like, do you remember metrosexual, when men would shower regularly and care about what they look like? They were called metrosexual. Like, what is that? Like,
like that, we used to bug the shit out of him because he had like 14 showers a day, part his hair perfectly
because he liked to be clean. You're a metrosexual.
Like Kurt Cobain, so we all laughed at him because we were all grungers from Vancouver, right? So
it's just he was like, I just miss when you could just be and not have to have like the label. Like, you could be a dude that really liked to dress up and maybe you wore some kind of like androgynous clothing. That's fine, give her. Or you're a chick that, like me, like doesn't wear dresses, if ever, or very very like rarely. Like that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Like, I
wear makeup, do your hair.
Exactly.
But at least he knows he's a man. I'm a man. I wear makeup and I do my hair and I wear pretty clothes. Sure. But who says you can't be pretty and be a man? I don't get where like, as soon as you want to be pretty and feminine, you instantly have to be changed to a girl, go through the surgeries, get your hormones. Like, that's where I think we're failing. Like, let people just be.
That's rooted in some ways, in some parts of it, in homophobia, right? Like, it's like they're so afraid, and this happens in other countries too. I think like more in Thailand.
They don't want to be gay, so they'll be trans.
Exactly, so they'll be trans, and it's just they'll do all the surgery so that it's more acceptable, because then from the outside you just look like a regular man.
And you're a woman that likes a man instead of a man that likes a man.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So I think that's what happens. Right? And that's what happens when they're younger, because again, like, we got the fucking whole of TikTok and all this community where you build this echo chamber, and it's just, I'm not trying to be this way, but it's kind of like the cults where you get love bombed, and so you're so confused, and now you've got these people being like, this is it, I feel so good, yes queen, like, there's a community, all these things, and then you hear they'll go through it a couple years and they'll start to detransition, because like us, they had body dysmorphia, like us, they had curiosities about their sexuality. And instead of just having their own space to figure it out with like the boundaries of social constructs, these
Positively
extremes are allowed to
manipulated.
happen. Exactly. And so now we're going to these
Right.
extremes where it's like we can't just play with our sexuality. We're going to play with our fucking entire bodies and hormones to a huge degree. And like
So bad.
guys get hated on doing steroids all the time, but women can take this equivalent and then
That's
that's okay.
I thought about that with that shooter. Like I said, she was on testosterone. If it was some huge bulk dude who was roid raging and went into school, that would be a factor. It's a contributing factor
Right.
because he was on hormones to make him more like aggressive. Like I don't understand why that is different just because she has the label of trans. I'm sorry, you're taking hormones, you're mentally ill, you have increased that mental illness with drugs and like hormones. It is a factor. Whether you want it to
and
or not.
probably as a guy too, we're used to the effects of testosterone, whereas a woman would have no idea how you feel. Like we've been slowly gauged up in it as a young man or a little boy. As we get more and more testosterone, we're used to it. So even a guy on roids probably handled the testosterone better than she did.
I feel like a female roid rage would be like the ultimate rage because we
Right.
have no
You'd be like, what the
concept
fuck?
for what the hell we're
Right.
getting into. It's just,
Right.
And like think
Right.
about that too when it comes to steroids. Testosterone is kind of like the lower level of the steroids, right? Like you get up to like the trends, like you know what I mean? Like so
Don't
if she
ever
was
take
just
tren.
on testosterone. Think about a male that's on tren and like the difference, right? But that would be a huge focus. And to me, that would be the equivalent of a woman on testosterone would be like a dude that's used to testosterone on tren and that can't emotionally handle that. You know, we all know those guys that cannot emotionally handle their gear, and it's very obvious, right? And so like that's a thing that's important. Why wasn't it important? That's why it's important in this situation.
Yeah.
What is that chemically doing to a person where they think, okay, the trauma that I had, the justice then is to unalive children. There had to be something chemically going on there, especially with like that mom not that long ago that killed all 3 or 4 of her kids, and she sent her husband to go get food, and then she tried to jump out the window, but she wasn't successful in killing herself. This woman was on like 3 SSRIs and like 5 other medications by all these different doctors, and we're wondering why she snapped one day and killed everyone and jumped out the window.
Meds are disgusting.
That's important. That is important. I don't believe that women wake up and want to kill their children. I believe that they have some fucked up shit happen, and these drugs take them to the next level.
Right.
Like,
I just thought, like Elle Wood says, happy people don't just shoot their husbands, okay?
They don't.
Happy people that are like normally chemically and like sanely balanced do not just kill people. Like that's not how this works.
But instead, we're going to turn this into a political thing and talk about everything else, not go, who was giving her these drugs? Who approved
They should be held accountable.
She was a nurse and she went in and was like, I want to kill my fucking children. They gave her some more medication and sent her on her way.
Yeah.
But it's
I find our society is really bad at playing. I always say play it out. Like play it out 1 year, play it out 5 years, play it out 20 years. What is it going to look like?
Yeah.
If it's bad, if potentially bad, then don't do it. Like what's, like with this trans thing, part of it'll probably be, it's that endorphin rush where you feel, I have attention now. Yeah. Once that attention wanes, because it'll eventually wane. It's like, you're you've been trans for 5 years. Right. And then what are you going to do after that?
The fact that kid said, the mother was like, he has to play with his neo-vagina every day or it's going to grow over and I'm going to be so mad.
That episode really grossed me out. Like,
let's talk about this in another situation. If it was a mom saying, I made my boy jack off the whole time just to make sure that his penis was functioning, like that would not be an okay thing. But all of a sudden it is. I know, but on fucking television, I'm sorry,
it's because they're trying to normalize it. They're trying to have the conversation so that it's normal. Oh, your daughter needs to dilate. Like, no one should need that term. That term is just like vile. I actually Googled. I got so curious after watching it. I needed to see the before and afters of like male to female and female to male because I was like, what are they dealing with? Like, why do you have to shove this like abnormally large dildo-sized thing in you to keep yourself down? Like, I was so like mentally, and it's because of shrinkage. I'm like, okay, well, what is that? Like, I don't have to deal with that. What the hell is shrinkage? Like, that's a male thing. Like, it's so crazy, some of the side effects and consequences and just like everyday rituals you got to do after you transition. That blew me away, that whole episode.
There's a lot more bacterial type infections and stuff like that too, because it's not natural. So women have their natural chemistry that's going to deal with all this stuff. Right.
I like seeing
you're making
those ads of should you get your cervix tested for cervical cancer if you're a trans woman?
Right.
But you don't have a
fucking God.
cervix.
What
Like, no.
cervix?
Maybe
Well, because you have
testicular cancer.
or prostate cancer.
Prostate
It just.
cancer? And the thing is,
I can guarantee you now, I will get fined $25,000 if they do this, because the way I speak, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Me
Going to
too.
jail, or I'm getting
I was
fined
gonna
for
say,
sure.
me, Brandy, and Kayla will be cellmates for sure
Hey, man.
because we're in the same.
They'll
Yeah.
see a
There's
lesson,
$100
gonna take it
grand fine just on this on this screen right
I
now.
was gonna say, if you need to, you can just identify as a woman. You can come bunk up with us, and we'll all keep each other company, hang out in our cells.
I figured it out. I'm going to identify as a dog because you can't find a dog. It's only for human beings.
Oh, there you go, done. Beat the dog.
Yeah.
Smart. I'm just giving you a heads up. My computer might die, so just a
Okay. Well,
warning.
just a heads up.
Anyway.
Just
in
keep
case she
going.
drops out.
But no,
Yeah,
it's going to be wild if everything puts through. Like the four of us probably won't have social media for very long.
No.
We'll be banned.
I'll be done.
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
banned and
It's
kicked
really
out.
ridiculous. Like, why are you so afraid? You're so afraid. This is a funny spin I'm thinking of it as well. You're so afraid of your people having an opinion
Yeah.
that doesn't match yours that you're going to try and silence us in that way. And it's like, so why can't we talk about it though? Like, like why? So does that mean if I was walking down the street and I saw somebody and I wasn't sure what gender they were and I didn't want to assume and I just said whatever, if I misgender them, I be fined for that? Or like, what are they talking about? Like, what is the extensity of that
They're opening the
bill?
door.
Like,
They're open.
Right.
I
where
feel
do
like
you draw the line?
if you're someone to fight back, and if you're someone that was going to say like if they were found your social media and it was one of us and we have been openly against all this, you would probably get fined as a show of like, this is how serious we are. And they will go after people pretty hard as soon as they find out that they're either like conservative or they feel this way. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know,
they will definitely look at like past past
Okay, here.
not sentences, but past like behavior and see
Past, yeah.
what's happening. But we've seen that with the convoy. It's the same thing that happened. You talked about that. It was hate speech and you were silenced. It's just a new topic, guys.
So you're a racist?
Yes, exactly. Like, sure,
Yeah.
yes, there's a war going on in Ukraine. I'd like to know why we're sending so much money there. What like
what do they need all that money for?
this
What
has
are they
been a
doing
year
with
now.
it?
Like, what's going on?
I want
Laundering
receipts
people?
on what this shit's spent on because it ain't like
Well,
It ain't adding up,
and
man.
the Ukrainian president's one of the richest men on the planet.
Yeah, great.
You know?
Richest
He's in
actors.
the actors, yeah, totally.
Literally.
Joke.
You know?
It's like same with our PM too. It's absolutely wild. But there's been a lot of negative. Let's flip to positive before Haley's laptop dies. But I feel like let's talk about some of the positives of what's going on here. For one, this is exposing people on a high level more than anybody's ever seen, because if anybody can agree on anything, it's coming together for kids. And those that are saying like drag and all that is not dangerous to children, I think that you're valid in having your feelings, but I would challenge you to find the bad guys and then eliminate them from your group of people so that they're not linked with you, right? Like it's like
Right.
there's extremes in every group, in every dynamic, and those people need to be called out by said individuals. That's why I like Blair White and Buck Angel, because they're like, exist. Trans obviously exist. We're trans, so obviously they exist. But there's boundaries, right? And we need to be holding those boundaries like in place, or we're mutilating children. Like I as a 36-year-old that can't properly have a baby because of hormone shit, I feel like I have to say this and speak about it, because have spent the last, we'll talk about this on my infertility episode, but I've spent the last like 20 years not believing I'm a woman because I can't have a baby. So don't tell me that I don't understand what it's like to be dysphoric in my gender. Okay.
Yeah.
And then telling me that I'm the same as a trans woman. No, I'm not.
Right.
It's very harmful.
Violent, no.
That's hateful speech, right? And it really upsets me, because it's like, you guys think that I'm not a woman, and I've been struggling with that. So then I should just go around and hate everybody that's had an abortion, that says they hate to have kids, that all of that, because my reality is I can't have a baby. No,
You're the immediate justification for why they should be considered women, because not all women can have babies. Yeah, well, they are all equipped with what they need to. It's just unfortunate that, all the higher ups have decided that we need all this toxic bullshit in us to hinder us from having babies. But no one wants to have that conversation.
No one does. right? But it's like I don't go around with my trauma and all the things and project that to the people that make their own choices based on their own reasons,
Yeah.
right? Like, but that's what they're doing, you know. And don't tell me I don't
Yeah.
know what gender dysphoria is, body dysphoria. I know all of those things. We've all went through it. So if we all stood forward and yelled like the woke mob did, we would get nowhere. So like, fuck
Yeah, and
that.
I'm not sure who said this, but somebody had said, maybe it was Peterson, that maybe it actually might have been Ben Shapiro. Your trigger is your responsibility. Your triggers, you know, and all of us have our own triggers. All of us have our own life experiences, our own traumas. You know, most people have had some sort of trauma in their life. If you're going to sit there and dwell on it and make it everybody else's problem, well, you're not dealing with it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not theirs to deal with. It's yours.
It's like taking offense to
Right?
jokes nowadays. Because you're offended doesn't
Right.
mean it's an offensive joke. It means you're offended.
No.
That's fine. It
Right.
doesn't take away from like the funniness or anything else. Like your offense and your discomfort is on you.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that thing I posted. If you hate me, that's not my problem. That's yours. Like
Right.
it's on
Like-
you. To
And you can
Right.
hate
The
me.
Lucky Charms mascot isn't offensive because Irish people aren't pussies. You know?
it's so ridiculous that people are so like
You know?
Back to the positives. I
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
through all of this though, I feel like, and I don't know about you guys, I just want to get your take on this, how you guys feel. Through all of this though, I feel like I'm smarter, stronger, more resilient. I have more
More
friends than I
informed.
ever have. Everything that I want is manifesting. All the gratitude I have in my life every single day is immense. I feel like a lot of us that had a shitty time the last 2 to 3 years are really now coming into who they are and their lives. And I think it's actually kind of beautiful. And I feel like if you want to stay stuck in that mentality and victim mentality, that's great, but a lot of us are not there anymore, and we're moving ahead. So
Yeah.
either join or
we're living
sit
our life
back
again.
here.
We're back to living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Right. If none of this shit happened, none of us would have found our tribe. We
No.
found our tribe now, right?
Well, and the
Yeah.
people
Like
that
you wouldn't have found your
you can
voice,
trust.
you wouldn't have found your strength. Yeah. Yeah.
and now
It was
shit's all down.
like,
we have a team.
yeah, it's
Hell
like
yeah.
sharpening the spear by fire, you know? Like we all went through our own fire and we found our crew. We found the people we can depend on.
Yeah.
A lot of us haven't even met in person, but we know you could trust each other.
That's a bonus
You know,
of the
there's people-
internet.
Right.
Yay, positive. See,
Right.
I knew there was some. We were talking. The girls are going to
And
come
There's
up
lots
here.
of positives.
Yeah, and we
The amount of
should have a
the
big
art,
thing.
right? So many people grew during all this shit, right? It's, you know, the people that didn't. I mean, that's their thing. That's the thing. I don't even care.
Nope.
Like if somebody else didn't want to grow through this, well, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry for you. But like the people that I've surrounded myself with now are all like we're championing each other
Yeah.
too, right? We got each other's back.
I love that
I've never
too.
had so many people that have had my back my whole life.
So supportive, right? Especially when you find the good
Right.
ones. I mean, like we've said, each community and each group has like its like few that are just kind of crap, but I mean the majority of like the movement is just, it's been nice to have people that don't call you crazy and don't tell you that you're insane for having these feelings, beliefs, and thoughts, and like questioning all the stuff that we've been questioning for the last 3 years. So I agree. It's
Right.
that, I think that's my favorite outcome
And
of the
every new
pandemic.
Right.
And every new controversial topic that comes up, we
Yeah.
all tackle it with such a different view now. We don't react as much as we used to. We take a step back and go, okay, hold on, where do I have some
Yeah.
maybe skewed views or triggers or projections or misunderstanding to this situation? Like, I've learned so much. Like, you know, it's so sad that you speak out about something, you have some questions, and then you're labeled anti this or against that. But it's like, actually, I'm trying to understand it so I can get maybe more on board or, you know, see where I lie. And I think that over the last couple of years, more people are more apt to have these conversations
Yeah.
because people like us were so vocal and we're like, we might be wrong, but we're going to say this. And I think we're just going to see these cycles. It was COVID. And if you're against COVID, you were anti da 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 da. And it's like, okay, now it's like the
There's a
wars.
reason
Like,
they
you're
tried to
against wars.
stop discussion, right?
Exactly. And they're just going to keep doing these same tactics, but we're not losing. We're winning every time. More people are waking up, more people are becoming spiritual, more people are becoming healthier and taking personal responsibility. And I think that's fucking great. And I'm going to continue fighting for that. Like,
For
I don't know,
sure.
that's just my 2 takes, but
Well, the lesson we learned from just all the pressure on us a year ago now, we were under immense pressure. Immense.
that's
I
right.
watched a video the other day of me going in to watch my son play his championship game. I had to sneak into the arena to watch him. And I remember when he won the championship, I went back to my truck and I cried. And I'll admit that. Like, I bawled my eyes out because if I didn't sneak in, I would have missed that moment in his life that was special. You know? And And by going through that, I'm grateful for that, because it strengthened me more than I ever thought I had the strength for.
They
Right?
really tried to break us down like hard.
Right. And we know now that there's nothing. Yeah, they molded us into diamonds now.
Yeah, they really did themselves a disservice, because we're like more badass than we were before, for sure.
Totally.
Billy Gates, you fucked up, kid.
Yeah.
We're onto you. We're onto
Right.
you.
Well, and like
Right.
the other thing that's funny too, the positive that you can take from this is like they wanted to drive us into the ground. They wanted to break us. They wanted to disconnect
did
us.
not.
We became more connected. We became more self-sufficient. We started communities where we're growing our own food. We have people who can do things. So when we talk about going backwards, we're kind of going backwards in that aspect, because you look at our grandparents, they were growing their own food, they were butchering their own meat, they were raising their own animals, they were living in a commune type lifestyle. So I think it's fascinating, and I'm cheering for people. Like I have one friend like Sasha. She went from fucking living in the heart of Toronto to now she has a farm, two horses. They're getting chickens, like that kind of thing. And she's learning. She's already knows how to cook and stuff like that. But I'm like, to see people go from where you think the direction society's going, where everything's all internet and AI and all that. There's a very big chunk of us that are not going that direction, that are going and standing on our own 2 feet, and we're not relying on the government. We're not relying on pharma. We're looking for better ways to get healthy, because that's just the way. And I think that that's something that's really cool that came out of this. We would have never, ever had that like rock bottom moment if we hadn't have gone through all that shit. And it's fucked up, and I hate it. I'm mad all the time about some of the shit we went through. Like I got yelled at going into Walmart with my son with no masks on. I'm like, who the fuck are you to tell me, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Oh,
But like Dusty said, pressure
In
makes
my mind,
diamonds,
that's
right?
that we've seen so many people become independent, and I think that's cool.
And I wonder too if this kept happening in history, right? Is this just this pandemic just the next wave? Did this happen like with another movement a couple years ago? You know what I mean? Where people are slowly starting to wake up. Like there's some people that have probably been woken up for like the last 5-10 years, are like, oh my god, hurry up and get here.
Finally.
You know what I mean? There she goes. There she goes.
Bye.
We lose Hailee. That's okay. Maybe we'll end it here, because this was an awesome episode, guys. And this has been really fun. We know Dusty's going to come back again, because
Definitely.
It's always so good. It's always so good. But now that we don't have Hales, guys, this is an awesome episode. Dusty, thank you so much for coming back. Do you want
no problem. That was awesome.
We'll just bring you back again, and we'll just keep going.
I'll come back. Yeah, this is awesome. I love talking to you.
I would love that. Yeah,
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
So, guys, as always, if you want to follow Dusty, it's Van City Mountaineer, right? Is there any like underspace?
No, that's it.
Yeah, you guys will love him.
I don't rant like I used to, so it's probably boring on there now. But I'm trying to just like once in a while I'll drop something.
That's why I am. I'm trying to have social media where I don't get on at 5:30 in the morning, because I'll get up at 4:30 and I'll start looking and I'll be pissed off, and then I'll do a rant, and then like an hour later I'm like, was that necessary? Like, you weren't stoned yet. You were very angry. Like, maybe let's take a break. But it is nice, because that's how you find your people, guys. Like, don't be afraid to speak your truth. That's how Dusty found us. That's how we found him. And now we have a friend, you know, and it just keeps growing. So
that's how we found Hailee.
Yes,
too,
that's how we
right?
found
Like,
Hailee and
I was talking to her about fucking survival bullshit. She was sending me pictures of like books that I should get, like about teaching me how to survive in the wilderness, and like flashlights and radios and things. And I'm like, hey, those are the kind of friends, like if the apocalypse is going to come, these are the kind of friends I want to have, where it's like, you just know that you can trust. And this is going to be the last controversial thing that I'll say, but like, I trust in knowing that you guys will understand the assignment. If anything hit the fans, what are they going to do? These little girls, or whatever you're like, where masculinity has a place in this world. And I will argue that, because if it weren't for the masculine men, there would be a lot of stuff that was not accomplished in
100%.
Any
civilization would not exist.
They can shit talk our ancestors, but the great parts of this world are because of these men that went out and they battled and they built and they invented,
and they provide,
and they took risks, you know.
Yeah, toxic masculinity, when it's not actually toxic, needs to end.
Right.
Male should be.
Do you know where, you know, in the societies that they have the privilege of beacon off about the society, it's the ones that are free.
Yes.
You're not beacon off in China. Downtown Baghdad.
Nope. Oh,
you know,
definitely not. And
you're not beacon off. You're not beacon off in Beijing.
Nope.
You know, you're beacon off in LA, where it's safe, and your grandfather probably fought in a war and his buddies died for you.
on your
You
Apple
know,
iPhone.
that's the thing that it pisses me off, because it's a slap in the face to all those men.
Yeah.
And the women too, because the women were at home supporting the men. So that's the thing. Like, they try to say that the women were subject. No, they had a strong role that was respected. And that's why the men went off to war, because they valued their women.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't because they didn't think they were strong. It's because they ultimately valued them more than anything.
And they want to
That's
protect
why
them.
women were put on, they're put on a pedestal, not because they're weak.
No.
It's because they're of value, the most value of anything on the planet. Women
And
are
I
the
think-
vessels of life.
I think that biggest thing too, because there's a flip now where women think they are above, you know, where that feminism is
Right.
not in the opposite, where this one girl was
that's toxic.
and I shared this the other day, and it was like, how much do you think a man should make? And about 50K, and she was like, ooh, gross, no. And he was like,
Oh,
"I'm
yeah,
I
I
22
saw that, yeah.
I
years
saw that
old." Yeah.
today.
Yeah, she's
Right.
22 years old, and she was like, oh, like $1 million, and all the guys are like, and she's like, I'll take cooking classes. I'll figure it. He's like, hold on, you can't even cook, but you're expecting a man to show up and have $1 million to just provide for you. Why? Ladies, you need to be of value to your men just as much as the men need to be of value of you. That's why it's balance. And you don't have to have male energy, female energy, and that's it. You can intertwine that. Like I said, there's going to be days where Grant's not feeling maybe as like the lead, and I will stand up and be like, yeah, you're having a bad day mentally. I will take care of all the things I got to take care of. But equally so, when I'm having a moment, we're looking at vehicles right now, he has stepped up and took care of everything for me. Like, I could take care of it, but he's better at it. So, you know, but I'm not like, oh, he's just doing everything for me. It's like, no, he's going to have a better conversation with the guy because they understand this shit. And he's going to tell me in my language what that means. And we're going to come somewhere. It's not like, come somewhere. That was personal. We're going to get somewhere, you know what I mean, to get together. But it's not because like, I feel like I'm less and I'm a less of a person. It's just the energies that we bring in the moment. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm so tired of people being upset about that. You want to make your man a lunch and support him and clean the house, you fucking do it. Like, if you don't, you have like, you just, I don't know. I could keep going.
And be happy and take pride in it. It's awesome. Like,
yeah.
when I would, like, if I was with somebody, I would take pride in cooking them a meal, like make it really nice.
Yes.
Do a nice romantic dinner for somebody, make a bubble bath or whatever. Like, put an effort in. That's all I'm saying. Put an effort in for the person you love.
And lead by example. Like, if you start doing
right.
it, then your spouse is probably going to start doing it. And then you go back and forth, right? Like, it's just like, oh, I'm not doing that because he didn't make the effort. It's like, you make the fucking effort then. You put it forward. Did you make the effort? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right?
We need to get out
and
of
put your fucking phone down and pay attention to the person you're with for a change.
100%.
Look at them in the eye and actually spend some time with them.
Yeah.
Or why are you with them?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's so hard too because we get caught up in all of these things, but you have to just be honest with yourself. Be real, babe.
Be
like,
real.
I wonder why we named our show that. But anyways, guys, I was trying to sign off, but we'll just keep doing this.
Yeah, we'll just went somewhere else.
We always do that.
All right.
We're gonna have you back. As always, guys, follow Dusty, follow us.
Yeah,
we love
it
you.
was a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much for showing up, watching, and we'll see you next time, guys.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you guys so much for stopping by the show today. We truly hope that you had a good time. If you liked this episode and you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe to our channels, like our episodes, and turn on those notification bells. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, and Google Podcast. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest. Until next time, guys.